Okay, so a while ago we discussed about the e-government master plan, and we we uh, we inform no the detailed of this e-government master plan because the Philippine journeys or the Philippine government journeys toward digital transformation is guided by its e-government master plan or EGMP, a strategic roadmap that aims to connect citizens, no, businesses and government through the use of ICT or information and communication technology. It's about building a government that is efficient, transparent, responsive, and inclusive, especially for a country as geographically diverse as our country or Philippines. One of the flagship initiative under this plan is the iGov Bill project. And this project lays the groundwork for interoperable system across government agencies. Let's say, for example, when applying for a business permit, the system should automatically verify your tax information with BIR, validate your barangay clearance, and even check your mayor's permit, all from one platform. The iGov Bill initiative aims to make that possible, avoiding the usual back and forth between agencies. And to give us more details and to discuss about this topic, let us all welcome our presenters. Go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning. Sorry. Good evening, Doc and classmate.
Chinese.
I'm Dante Flores with my co-presenter, Miss Jasmine Pahilagmago. We will reporting for tonight about e-government master plan. Learning intended outcomes. The learning intended outcomes of the e-government master plan serve as a strategic guide for developing the knowledge, skills, and competencies necessary to successfully implement and sustain digital governance initiatives. These outcomes are designed to ensure that all stakeholders, from policymakers and public servants to technical teams and citizens, are equipped to navigate the evolving digital landscape. By clearly defining the expected learning achievements, the plan aims to foster a culture of innovation, enhance service delivery, promote transparency, and drive inclusive digital transformation across government institutions. Strategies for successful e-government initiative. Understanding e-government. Introduction. In the digital age, government around the world are embracing innovative technologies to transform the way they deliver public service, interact with citizens, and manage internal operations. An e-government master plan is a comprehensive long-term strategy that outlines a government vision, objectives, and roadmap for digital transformation. It serves as a guiding framework to ensure the coordinate development and implementation of e-government initiative across ministries, departments, and agencies. The primary goal of the e-government master plan is to leverage information and communication technology to improve public service delivery, increase government efficiency, enhance transparency and accountability, and foster citizen engagement. This transformation is not only about digitizing existing processes, but also about rethinking how government services can be redesigned to better meet the needs of citizens and businesses. A well-structured e-government master plan provides clarity on priorities, timelines, and resources allocation. It also promotes interagency collaboration and aligns digital initiatives with national development goals. Ultimately, the master plan serves as a blueprint to build a smart, inclusive, and citizen-centric digital government. Bali sa Pilipinas, ang e-government master plan noong 2022 ay isang comprehensive strategy na naglalayong gawing digital ang mga serbisyo, ng gobyerno upang mapabuti ang kahusayan, transparency at accessibility ng mga serbisyong pampubliko. Pinangunahan ito ng DICT bilang bahagi ng mas malawak na Philippine Digital Transformation Strategy 2022 na naglalayong gawing mas mabilis at efficient ang mga transaksyon sa gobyerno at mapadali ang pakikipag-ugnayan ng mga mamamayan sa mga ahensya ng gobyerno. Halimbawa nito yung Online Government Services, eGov.ph. Ito ay portal para sa mga serbisyo ng gobyerno, ang PSA Online, pagkuha ng mga dokumento tulad ng birth certificate, ang LTO Online, pagpaparehistro ng sasakyan at pagkuha ng lisensya, BIR Online, pagbabayad ng buwis at pag-file ng tax return. Strategies for successful e-government initiative. One, understanding e-government master plans, components, and elements of an e-government master plan. Three, strategic planning for digital governance. Four, stakeholder engagement and collaboration. Five, setting measurable objectives and targets. Six, resource allocation and budgeting. Seven, risk assessment and mitigation. Timeline and implementation roadmap. Monitoring and evaluation mechanism. Sustainability and scalability. 11, best practices and lessons from e-government master plans. 12 is ethical consideration in e-government planning. Ito na yung kanina, yung introduction.
Digital government. Digital
iGovPhil Project. The iGovPhil Project, also known as the Integrated Government Philippines Project, represents a prominent e-government endeavor undertaken by the Philippine government. Its primary objective is to enhance and simplify the provision of public services by using information and communication technology. The initiative was initiated in the year 2012 and is an integrated component of the nation's wider endeavors to digitize governmental procedures and augment the effectiveness of public service. Ang eGov ang iGovPhil Project o Integrated Government Philippines Project ay isang pambansang inisyatiba na pinangunguna ng Department of Information and Communication Technology, DICT, at ng Department of Science and Technology. Layunin nitong gawing mas efficient, transparent, at accessible ang mga serbisyo ng gobyerno sa pamamagitan ng digital na teknolohiya. Ang proyekto ay bahagi ng mas malawak na estratehiya ng gobyerno upang mapabuti ang pamamahala at serbisyo publiko sa bansa. Objective of the iGovPhil project: A. Digital transformation. B. Enhanced citizen services. C. Interoperability. D. Data integration and sharing, standardization of ICT infrastructure. Digital transformation. The primary objective of the iGovPhil project is to effectuate a paradigm shift in government operations and service provision by using information and communication technology, ICT solution. Enhance citizen services. The objective of this project is to enhance the provision of public services to individuals by increasing their accessibility and efficiency through the utilization of digital platform. Ito yung pagpapabuti ng serbisyo sa mamamayan, pagbibigay ng mas mabilis at maginhawang pag-access ng mga mamamayan sa serbisyo ng gobyerno. Interoperability. The primary objective of iGovPil is to augment the interoperability of diverse systems and database employed by government agencies, hence facilitating the smooth exchange and collaboration of data. Pagpapalakas ng interoperability. Ito ay yung pagbuo ng mga sistema at plataforma na magkatugma at maaring magpalitan ng impormasyon sa pagitan ng iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno. It means parang parehas sila ng platform kaya mas madaling gamitin yung sistema. Data integration and sharing. The project aims to enable evidence-based decision-making and policy formation through the integration and exchange of government data. Standardization of ICT infrastructure. The primary objective of iGovPil is to build a uniform information and communication technology infrastructure throughout various government agencies with the aim of promoting consistency and compatibility. Mga pangunahing inisyatiba ng iGovPil ay Government Data Center, GDC, isang sentralisadong pasilidad na nag-host ng mga application at sistema ng gobyerno upang matiyak ang seguridad, integridad at availability ng mga datos. Government Shared Network, isang secure na network na nag-uugnay sa mga ahensya ng gobyerno na nagpapadali ng komunikasyon at pagpapalitan ng impormasyon. Public Key Infrastructure, isang sistema ng digital na sertipiko at encryption na nagsisiguro ng seguridad at integridad ng mga transaksyon at komunikasyon sa gobyerno. Ang mga benepisyo ng iGovPil project, mas mabilis at mas maginhabang serbisyo. Ang mga mamamayan ay makikinabang sa mas mabilis at maginhabang pag-access ng mga serbisyo ng gobyerno. Ikalawa ay mas mataas na antas ng transparency at accountability. Ang mga proseso ng gobyerno ay magiging mas transparent na nagpapataas ng tiwala ng publiko. Ikatlo ay ang pagpapalakas ng digital literacy. Ang mga kawani ng gobyerno ay magkakaroon ng mga pagsasanay upang mapabuti ang kanilang kasanayan sa paggamit ng mga digital na kagamitan at sistema. Ang iGovPil project ay patuloy na sinasagawa at pinapalawak upang matugunan ang mga pangangailangan ng gobyerno at mamamayan sa digital na panahon. Ang mga initiative nito ay sumusuporta sa mga layunin ng Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Services Delivery Act of 2018. Kung tawagin ay Republic Act 11032 at ang Philippine Development Plan. Components of the iGovPil project: Government Network, Government Web Hosting Services, National Government Data Center, National Government Portal. Government Network o GovNet. The project encompasses the implementation of a robust and trustworthy government network that facilitates connectivity across national and local government entities. GovNet is a high-speed fiber optic internet backbone that connects national and local government agencies across the Philippines through a secure and reliable network. Developed under the iGovPil initiative, it aimed to improve interagency communication, data sharing, and access to centralized IT services. Bakit nga ba importante ito? It improves connectivity and speed. It significantly boosts the bandwidth and connectivity of government offices, moving them away from slow and reliable commercial internet providers. Enhance security. Unlike public internet, GovNet use a private and secure connection, uh, reducing the risk of cyber threats and data breaches that insensitive government operations. Facilitated integration. It enabled different government agencies to interconnect and integrate systems, a critical step toward digital governance and shared platforms like GovMail, databases, and internal system. It also cost efficient. Centralized connectivity, reduce redundancy, and long-term internet costs, especially for agencies in close proximity. Foundation for future services. GovNet provide the physical and digital backbone for later projects like eGovPH, Super App, National Government Portal, Shared Cybersecurity Operations, Cloud Services by GovCloud. Government Web Hosting Services, GWHS. The iGovPil platform is a web hosting solution that enables government agencies to securely and efficiently host their website. The government web hosting services was another strategic and essential component of the iGovPil project, designed to standardize, secure, and simplify how Philippine government agencies build and manage their websites. The government web hosting services is a centralized platform that hosts official website of government agencies managed under iGovPil by the DICT. Ensures that government websites are secure, reliable, compliant with Philippine Web Standard, accessible to the public, and the key benefits of government web hosting services are security benefit. Centralized hosting reduce vulnerabilities to cyber attack, data breaches, standardization benefit, enforce compliance with the Philippine Web Accessibility Guidelines, and Unified Web Content Policy. Cost-efficient benefit, agencies no longer need to manage or pay for their own commercial web hosting. Technical support benefit, officers maintenance, updates, and troubleshooting by the ICT's technical team. Transparency and accessibility benefit, it promotes better information dissemination through well-managed, always online government website. National Government Data Center, NGDC. The National Government Data Center was a cornerstone component of the iGovPil project, serving as the central hub for storing, processing, and manage government data. Think of it as the digital heart of the Philippine government operation, where critical system records and application live. Let's take a look about how National Government Data Center flows by reviewing this short clip.
To keep up with the latest in information and communications technology, the government is turning to fiber optics with the aim of providing all government offices with high-speed broadband connection. This is being achieved through the Integrated Government Philippines Project, or iGovPhil, which has constructed a fiber optic cable network. Fiber optic cables connect to data centers that the government built to provide efficient, responsive, and transparent online services. iGov ensures that each data center housing the network equipment is safe and secure 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is equipped with necessary network machines, security, data storage facilities, cooling, power, monitoring, and fire protection systems. Fiber optic cables connect government agencies to the data center. Through fiber optics, pulses of light carry a large amount of data or information. How fast can an agency connect to the data center? As fast as the speed of light. With iGov's fiber optic network, data is transmitted between agencies up to a speed of 10 gigabits per second, and the speed of internet connection is up to 20 megabits per second. iGovPhil plans to connect all government agencies nationwide in the future. For more information, visit www.i.gov.ph/FOC.
As you can see, the National Government Data Center is a centralized secure facility where the computing resources, servers, and data of various government agencies are housed and maintained. It was established under iGovPhil to eliminate the fragmented and inefficient practice of agencies hosting their own separate data system. Key functions and rule. Ang functions niya ay centralized hosting. Host government website, system database, and cloud-based app in a unified environment. Data security function. It provides secure climate-controlled facilities with 24/7 surveillance, fire protection, and disaster recovery system. Interoperability support allows different agencies to connect, share, and exchange data efficiently and securely. It supports GovCloud, act as the physical backbone for the government's cloud infrastructure. Redundancy and continuity ensures uninterrupted public service delivery even during disaster or technical failures. Benefits to government and citizen. Standardization benefit. It impacts unified IT environment for agencies, reducing duplication and inconsistency. Cost efficiency benefit. Save money on infrastructure, maintenance, and power by consolidating resources. Scalability benefit can be scaled to support growing e-services like the eGov, PH Super App, and speed reliability benefit. Enhance performance of digital government platform through high-speed access and uptime. Why it matters. Before the NGDC, many government systems were hosted in isolated, vulnerable, and underpowered IT setups. That meant risk of data loss during natural disasters, inconsistent backup policies, wasted resources on redundant infrastructure. With the NGDC in place, the Philippines now has a secure government-controlled data environment, making digital services more trustworthy, consistent, and efficient. National Government Portal. The National Government Portal functions as a centralized portal for online access to diverse government services and information. The National Government Portal was a flagship component of the iGovPhil project, designed to be the single digital gateway to all government information and online services in the Philippines. The National Government Portal, accessible at www.gov.ph, is a centralized website that aggregates content and services from various government agencies into one convenient platform. It aims to simplify public access to government services and information by eliminating the need to visit multiple agency websites. Key features of the NGP is one-stop access. It links to national and local government websites and online services. Searchable directory allows user to find agencies, program, and service quickly. Public service info provides guide on how to access services, how to get a passport, business permit, announcement and news, central hub for official updates, public advisories, and government news. Forms and download. Repository of downloadable public forms, documents, and application requirements. Why the NGP mattered? Because it simplified navigation. Instead of searching multiple agency websites, user can go to one portal and be redirected to the appropriate page or platform. Increase transparency. By consolidating information in one place, the NGP enhance access to public services and government accountability. Encourage interagency collaboration. Agencies were encouraged to update and synchronize their content with the NGP, pushing toward digital integration. Foundation for future platforms. The NGP paved the way for more advanced mobile-first platforms like the eGov.ph Super App, which contains the goal of service unification. Components of the iGovPil project. E-library. F is government common platform. E-library. The primary objective of the e-library component is to facilitate the digitization of government papers, publications, and records, hence enhancing their availability and accessibility to the general public through online platforms. The e-library under the iGovPil project was a unique and forward-thinking component that focused on knowledge sharing and digital access to government publication and legal resources, while other components like GovNet and the NGDC focused on infrastructure. The e-library supported information access and public education, a crucial part of transparent and inclusive governance. The e-library is an online portal developed to provide pre-centralized access to a wide range of government publications, official documents, and legal resources. It was managed and maintained by the DOJ and support under iGovPil as part of the push for digital transformation and open government. Key features of the e-library is legal reference. Includes Philippine law, Supreme Court decision, administrative issuance, and executive orders. Makukuha nyo rito. Government publications, access to annual reports, manuals, development plans, and statistical data. Searchable database enables user to search and browse document easily by keyword, category, or year. Downloadable content. Many documents can be downloaded for offline reading and research. Why is the e-library important? It promotes access to legal government knowledge, helps students, researchers, legal professionals, and ordinary citizens understand laws and policies. Free public access ensure that information produced by the government was not hidden behind paywalls or limited to physical libraries. Digital literacy and open governance reinforce the values of transparency, accountability, and digital inclusion, core principles of iGovPil. Institutional memory preserve government knowledge in digital form, crucial for continuity, planning, and governance. Government Common Platform, GovCom. The primary objective of the GovCom component is to facilitate the seamless integration of systems and applications inside government agencies, hence enhancing the exchange of data and optimize various processes. The Government Common Platform was one of the most strategic and integrative components of the iGovPil project. Its core purpose was to unify digital government services by providing shared tools, systems, and protocols that different government agencies could use. eliminating duplication, and ensuring interoperability. The Government Common Platform is a suite of shared ICT services and systems made available to government agencies under the iGovPIL initiative. Instead of each agency developing its own digital tools from scratch, GovCom provided standardized, ready-to-use solutions that promote consistency, efficiency, and integration. Key components of GovCom, GovMail. It's the official government email system with @gov.ph domains for secure communication. Public key infrastructure enables secure digital signatures, authentication, and encryption. GovCloud, centralized cloud infrastructure for hosting apps, services, and databases. Web hosting and CMS, website templates and hosting by GWHS for consistent web presence. Document management systems, standardized tools for managing, archiving, and sharing government documents. E-payment integration, in, infrastructure for government transaction and digital payments. Interoperability standards, guidelines and protocols that allow government systems to talk to each other. Why GovCom was important? Because it's standardization, ensure that all agencies followed common security, design, and integration protocols. Cost saving, it reduced the need for agencies to develop or outsource their own custom IT system. Interoperability made it easier for systems to share data, like a foundation for integrated services like the eGovPH Super App. Security, centralized control and security measures reduce vulnerabilities across agencies. Scalability allowed for easier rollout for new services and faster onboarding of government offices to the digital ecosystem. Conclusion, the iGovPIL project is within the purview of the Department of Information and Communication Technology, DICT, which assumes a pivotal position in orchestrating the execution of electronic government endeavors in the Philippines. The Philippine government endeavors to promote openness, efficiency, and citizen-centric services in the provision of public services through initiatives such as iGovPIL and other related programs. National Broadband Plan. The National Broadband Plan is the Philippine government strategic blueprint for building a robust, inclusive, and affordable broadband infrastructure across the country. Spearheaded by the Department of Information and Communication Technology, the NBP aims to close the digital divide, especially in the underserved and unserved areas, and ensure that every Filipino has access to fast, reliable internet. The National Broadband Plan was developed to address the long-standing issue of internet connection quality in the Philippines. In line with the Philippine Digital Strategy, also developed by DICT, the NBP zones in on the actual broadband technology solutions the country needs. Layunin nitong palawakin, pababain ng halaga, at pagandahin ang kalidad ng internet sa buong Pilipinas upang mas mapalapit sa digital world ang bawat Pilipino, lalo na ang nasa malalayong lugar na hirap makakonekta sa internet. Key objectives of the National Broadband Plan: universal broadband access, improve internet speed, digital inclusion, e-government services, economic growth and development, Universal broadband access, the primary objective of the National Broadband Program is to guarantee equitable access to cost-effective and superior broadband internet services for all individuals in the Philippines, irrespective of their geographical location. Ang universal broadband access ay nangangahulugang lahat ng Pilipino saan ka man nakatira may access na mabilis, maasahan at abot kayang internet. Ito ay malaga sa National Broadband Plan. Dito ay pantay-pantay na opportunity para sa lahat. Sa kasalukuyan, mas maraming oportunidad ng mga taong may internet. Sila yung madalas na mayroong trabaho, edukasyon, negosyo, impormasyon. Sa pamamagitan ng universal access, ang mga nasa malalayong lugar ay magkakaroon ng pantay na tsansa. Halimbawa nito, kung isa kang estudyante at ikaw ay nakatira sa sa Benguet, pwede ka nang makasabay sa online learning gaya ng mga nasa Metro Manila. Sample na lang tayo. Yung iba sa atin ngayon ay nasa province, sa Banta lang yung iba ay dito sa Metro Manila. Pero pantay-pantay tayo ngayon na nag-aaral gamit ang internet. Improve internet speeds. The proposed strategy aims to enhance internet speeds and expand bandwidth capacity in order to accommodate the increasing need for online services and applications. Number 3, digital inclusion. The primary objective of the National Broadband Program is to facilitate the advancement of digital inclusion and enhance the rates of internet use with a particular focus on undeserved rural and remote regions. Number 4 is the e-government services. The proposed strategy facilitates the provision of e-government services and advocates for the utilization of digital platforms to enhance citizen involvement in the delivery of public service. 5 is the economic growth and development. The anticipation is that a resilient and easily accessible broadband infrastructure will stimulate economic growth through facilitating the expansion and innovation of firms. Initiative under the National Broadband Plan. Number 1 is free Wi-Fi for public places. Why is free Wi-Fi in public places important to the National Broadband Plan? Because free public Wi-Fi is a strategic first step toward universal broadband access, especially in a country like the Philippines where many people still cannot afford private internet. It is why it's a priority because it bridges the digital divide. Not everyone can afford data plans or broadband, especially in low-income rural or remote areas. Free Wi-Fi gives them a chance to connect, access information, study, and communicate just like anyone in the city. It supports education and e-learnings. Free Wi-Fi enables students to attend virtual classes, access learning materials, submit homework online, especially critical during the pandemic and for remote schools with limited resources. Number 3, it improves access to government services. Many government services are now online. eGovPH, PhilHealth, SSS, DSWD. With free Wi-Fi, lets people apply for IDs, access government aid, use online portals like www.govph. This promote transparency, efficiency, and inclusion. Number 2, enhance internet connectivity. Enhancing internet connectivity is a key initiative of the NBP. Internet connectivity is the foundation of a digital nation. The National Broadband Plan recognizes that without strong, fast, and reliable internet, the Philippines cannot fully benefit from modern technology digital services, or global opportunities. Reason why enhancing connectivity matters. Number one is to improve internet speed and quality. When many areas in the Philippines still suffer from slow, unreliable, or expensive internet, the NBP aims to build a national fiber optic backbone, upgrade local infrastructure, expand broadband access to rural and remote areas. Better connectivity, better digital services for everyone. To strengthen government services, e-governance, it enhance internet means like faster delivery of government services, smoother use of platforms like the eGov PH Super App, better interagency communication through GovNet. Uh, this leads to more transparent, efficient, and accessible governance. Enhancing connectivity matters. It also support online education. Strong internet allows students to attend online classes, teachers to access e-learning platforms, schools to use digital tools and resources, especially important for our schools and learners. Number 3, community e-center program. Community e-center is a shared access facility where people in a barangay or rural area can use the internet for free or at a low cost, access government services online, learn digital skills, basic computer use, online job applications, join online classes or training, communicate with relatives by email or video call. In short, ito ay parang community computer and internet hub. Often, nakaset up to sa mga barangay halls, libraries, school, or LGU offices. Community centers help make the goal a reality, especially in areas where there is no home internet. People can afford devices or data. Internet infrastructure is still being developed. Key reasons why community e-center are a priority because it brings internet access closer to the people. In far-flung or poor communities, CEC are often the only place where people can go online. Kasi parang libre ito eh. That means more people can apply for government IDs, access online learning, look for jobs, stay informed. And number 2, it promotes digital literacy. It often offers basic computer training and digital skills workshop. This help out of school youth, senior citizen, farmers, workers, and local entrepreneurs. Number 3, it support e-government services. Download and submit government forms. Use platform like eGov PH Super App, PhilHealth, and DSWD services. It join virtual town hall meetings or consultation. Number 4 is digital literacy and training. Digital literacy and training is important in the National Broadband Plan because even if internet access is available, it won't be useful if people don't know how to use it. That's why digital literacy and training is a vital initiative of the NBP because it ensures that every Filipino knows how to use technology safely, responsibly, and effectively. Why it is a priority? Because number 1, it bridges the digital divide beyond access. Having internet is not enough. People also need the skills and confidence to use it for education, work communication, and accessing services. Digital literacy empowers people to search for information, use email and messaging apps, navigate government websites, protect themselves from online scams. Number 2, support student, teacher, and lifelong learners. Digital skills training helps students participate in online learning. Teachers use tech tools like e-learning platforms. Adults explore online courses or tech-based careers. It promotes education for all ages in digital world. Number three, it opens up jobs and business opportunities. When people are digitally literate, they can apply for online jobs or freelance gigs, start small online businesses, digital printing, e-loading, reselling, learn productivity tools, Word, Excel, Canva. Number four, it improves access to e-government services with digital training. Citizens can access PhilHealth, SSS, and DSWD services online. Pay bills or taxes through e-payment system. Use platforms like eGovPH, Super App. It makes interacting with government faster and easier. Uh, Number five, connectivity for government agencies. Why is connectivity for government agencies important in the NBP? Because the Philippine government relies on fast, secure, and reliable internet to deliver services, make decisions, and coordinate between agencies. That's why improving connectivity among government offices is a major priority under the National Broadband Plan. Uh, why it's a core initiative? Because number one, faster and more efficient public service. When government offices are well connected to the internet and to each other, services are delivered more quickly. Paperwork is reduced. Agencies can collaborate in real time. Example na lang, instead of sending physical documents to LGUs and national agencies, you can send files instantly through gov.net. Number two, it improves security and data protection. The NBP includes building a dedicated government network like GovNet to keep sensitive data safe, avoid cyber threats and data breaches, ensure government communication is secure and private. This strengthens national security and trust in digital system. Number three, support for governance and online platforms. A connected government is essential for the eGovPH Super App. Online services like PhilHealth, SSS, DSWD portals, faster response in emergencies like disaster relief or financial aid. It makes service available online anytime, anywhere. Number six, public-private partnership. Public-private partnership matters in the National Broadband Plan. The National Broadband Plan is a massive nationwide project and the government cannot do it alone. That's why partnership with private companies is essential to make broadband access faster, more affordable, and more uh, widespread. Key reason why PPP is a priority. Number one, helps build infrastructure faster. Fiber cables, towers, data centers. This required huge investment and technical expertise. Private companies like telcos and tech firms already have equipment, manpower, experience. By working together, the government and private sector can build faster, reach more areas, and lower costs. Number two, it reduces government spending. Instead of the government funding everything on its own, it can share the cost and risk with private partners. PPP help make the NBP financially sustainable without putting too much burden on public funds. Number three, promotes innovation and efficiency. Private companies bring in new technologies, creative solutions, professional project management. This improves service quality and helps the government keep up with global digital trends. Number four, encourage more investment in the country. A strong PPP environment shows that the Philippines is open for business. Foreign and local companies are more likely to invest in telecom, ICT, tech startups. This lead to more jobs, competition, and better internet services. Number five, creates a wall of nation approach. The NBP is not just a government project, it's a national mission by involving private companies, LGUs, civil society, schools, communities. The broadband plan becomes more inclusive, collaborative, and effective. In summary, PPP is a core part of the National Broadband Plan because it speeds up infrastructure rollout, shares costs and risks, brings in innovation and expertise, make the project more inclusive and sustainable. Together, the government and private sector can connect the nations faster and better. Introduction to government portals and online services. Based on the most recent information as of September 2021, it can be observed that the Philippine government has achieved notable progress in enhancing the provision of web portals and online services. These efforts aim to enhance the efficiency of public service delivery and foster the advancement of e-government endeavors. The primary objective of this digital platform is to enhance the accessibility, convenience, and efficiency of government services for both residents and companies. Government web portals and online services. Number 1, Official Gazette. Number 2, Philippine e-Government Portal. Number 3, ETIS. Number 4, SSS Online Inquiry. Number 5, BIR e-Services. Number 6, PhilHealth Electronic Registration System. Number 7, DTI Business Name Registration System. Number 8, PRC Online Services. Number 9, Land Registration Authority. Number 10, DFA Passport Appointment System. Government web portals and online services offer a wide range of benefits to citizens, businesses, and the government itself. The key benefits are convenience and accessibility. Services are available 24/7, allowing users to access them anywhere, anytime. Citizens in remote or rural areas can access services without needing to travel to government offices. Number 2, efficiency and speed. Transaction and process like permit applications, tax payment, or document requests are completed faster. Reduce long lines and waiting times in government offices. Number 3, transparency and accountability. Online platforms reduce opportunities for corruption by limiting face-to-face interactions and increasing traceability. Public access to procurement data, budget allocation, and service updates increase trust in governance. Number 4, cost savings. Saves money for both the government, less paperwork, manpower, and citizens, no transportation or time of work. Automation of repetitive tasks cuts operational costs. Number 5, better data management. Digital systems centralize and secure data, making it easier for agencies to update records, track transactions, and share information across departments. Number 6, citizens empowerment. Promote civic engagement by providing easier access to government information and participation tools, online consultations or feedback forms. Empower citizens to monitor government performance and request services with greater ease. 7, business support. Facilitate easier business registration, permit issuance, and tax filing, helping improve the ease of doing business, encourage foreign and local investment by simplifying bureaucratic processes. Conclusion. Philippine government web portals and online services mark a significant step toward digital governance and inclusive public service delivery. The government has demonstrated its commitment to modernization, transparency, and citizen empowerment. However, to ensure the success and sustainability of these digital services, it remains crucial to address ongoing challenges such as digital literacy, internet accessibility, and cybersecurity. Continued investment and public-private collaboration will be essential in realizing a truly connected and responsive government. That's the end of my report. Thank you for listening, and I will turn over to you. The next presenter is none other than Miss Jasmine Pailagmago. Thank you.
Go ahead,
For a
ma'am.
while, po. Wait lang. Magpe-present po.
Maawa na.
Wait po.
Papa? Papa? Papa?
Okay na po ba? Hindi pa? Ala.
F5 mo lang, ma'am. Medyo maliit lang yung screen mo.
Apo, wait lang. So, good evening, Doc. Good evening, classmates. I will be discussing the continuation of Module 9, E-Government Master Plan. I am your presenter for tonight, Ms. Jasmine F. Hilagmago. And my first topic is all about expanding digital services. Wait po. So let's talk about digital services. It refers to the online platforms and processes that allow government entities to provide information and services to citizens directly through digital means, including websites, mobile applications, and online portals. The importance of which is it enhances the ability of governments to deliver services efficiently, improve public access to information, and streamline administrative processes, ultimately supporting democratic values and accountability. Current trends in e-governance. Current trends includes the adoption of cloud technologies, mobile governance, open data initiatives, and the use of artificial intelligence to improve service delivery and decision-making processes in public administration. Benefits are, number one, increased efficiency. So in e-governance, it allows for us in faster processing times and reduced bureaucratic delays, leading to improved service delivery and resource management for government agencies. It also enhances transparency by digitizing services. E-governance promotes transparency through the open availability of government data, making it easier for citizens to track government actions and expenditures. By citizen engagement and participation, e-governance platforms facilitate increased citizen participation in governance processes, enabling feedback mechanisms, surveys, and consultations that foster a collaborative approach to public policy. Example of which are in some offices, we have this suggestion box. Suggestion box is a traditional way of giving feedbacks, surveys, and opinions to certain employee and offices. But now we have just to scan. They have a QR code to scan so that you can send your feedback to their services. What are the challenges to implement? Number one, technological barriers. Technological barriers, just like what Ma'am Lovell and Doc said earlier, hindi lahat tayo ay makaka-avail ng uh, digitalization kasi hindi naman tayo lahat ay capable at hindi lahat sa lugar natin ay nagkakaroon ng magandang signal. So, example dito sa amin sa aming lugar dito sa Simara or sa Corcuera Romblon, may lugar talaga at makaramihan talaga sa lugar dito ay nahahati ang signal. May part na sa isang barangay, wala talagang signal kahit Globe or Smart. Tapos sa isang barangay naman, Globe lang ang gumagana. Kaya hindi mo masasabi na lahat, kahit pa sabihin sa isang munisipyo ay merong isang cell site na nakatayo, hindi yun lahat ay nakakaabot ng signal. Lalo itong aming geographical location, may pabundok, may patag. So yung mga nasa patag nakakaabot ng signal, ay mayroon namang sa sobrang layo ng kapatagan nila sa kabundukan, hindi sila nakakaabot ng signal. So this is one of the technological barriers. It includes inadequate infrastructure, lack of internet access in rural areas, and outdated IT systems within government institutions that hinder the implementation of effective digital services. So, I know na-share ko na to sa ibang subjects. Uh, Dito sa amin ay unti-unti pa lang kaming nag-a-adapt. Dito sa lugar namin, dito sa Romblon ay unti-unti pa lang kaming nag-a-adapt sa pagkakaroon ng digitalization programs. Hindi pa kami masyadong, halos wala pa kami sa 50% ng digitalization. Hindi katulad ng sa Maynila na halos o sa ibang well-developed cities na talagang nakakaabot sa kanila ang digital services na kahit nasa bahay ka lang, mismong pinakasimpleng example niya is yung mga Grab services, mga delivery services, Food Panda and the likes. So we have also the policy and regulation issues. Policy hurdles such as the absence of a comprehensive legal framework for digital services, concerns about data privacy, and regulatory impediments can impede the seamless integration of e-governance solutions. We have also the digital divide and accessibility. The digital divide refers to the gap between individuals who have easy access to digital technology and those who do not. Addressing accessibility issues is crucial to ensure equitable access to e-governance services for all citizens. So hindi lang mga kapwa citizens natin ang nakakaranas ng gap o digital divide. Mismong ang mga offices, may mga offices na kung sa term namin dito high-tech na sila kasi papindot-pindot lang. Dito sa amin lahat talaga more on paperworks. So hindi lahat ng government agencies and specifically citizens, individuals ay nakaka-access na sa internet o sa digital technology. So I have here some strategies that I came up from the references that I read earlier, a few days earlier. We have investment in infrastructure. Investing in robust digital infrastructure is necessary to support e-governance initiatives, ensuring reliable internet connectivity and modern technological resources for government agencies. So nasabi ko nga kanina, I don't know, hindi ako ganun ka marunong sa DPWH, but hindi ko sure kung matatawag bang infra project ang pagkakaroon ng cell site. Yung cell site sa amin dito yung parang nagsasagap ng signal para magkaroon ng signal ang isang munisipyo. So dito sa amin may 3 pa lang na cell site, isang smart, tapos may 2 globe. So sa 15 barangays namin, hindi siya sapat. Kaya meron talagang mga barangay na both network ay walang signal. So kailangan pa nilang pumunta sa tabing dagat para lang makasagap ng signal. And luckily for me, kahit paano ay nagkakaroon ako ng signal kasi malapit lang kami sa dagat. Minsan nawawala at syempre minsan meron. So moving on. So another one is training and capacity building. Training programs for public sector employees are essential to improve skills in utilizing digital tools and technologies, fostering a culture of innovation within government. So lahat naman tayo kailangan natin ng trainings. Hindi naman natin masasabi na marunong na agad tayo sa isang bagay. So kailangan pa rin nating magkaroon ng capacity building and training, magkaroon tayo ng heads up kung paano ba gumagana ang mga digital tools and technologies online. Tulad dun sa mga na-discuss kanina ni Sir Dante na hindi naman lahat ganun kateki. So hindi nila hindi nila masyadong alam kung paano mag-process sa ganung mga websites. So another one is collaboration with private sector. So we have these entities can leverage expertise, resources, and best practices, enabling governments to enhance their digital services and overcome existing challenges. So dito sa aming katabing isla sa Agpudlos, sa ano to, Calatrava, Corcuera, Romblon, nagkaroon na yon ngayon ng isang state university. Ang hindi lang nila masyadong ma-build up ngayon is yung lugar na pinagtayuan ng college, yung state university ngayon doon, na ang branch niya ay yung College of Forestry and Agriculture. Doon nakalagay ang school na yon. Wala doong cell site, kaya walang signal talaga doon. So, ang mga estudyante doon na nagbo-board at nailipat doon ay nahihirapan magsagap ng signal. So, the former university president, si Doc. Di Luna dati, ay nag-come up sa idea na makipag-collaborate sa SMART para magpatayo ng isang cell site, para magkaroon ng isang cell site, tama yon, cell tower na makasagap ng signal. So, hindi pa siya masyadong na-visualize sa ngayon dahil nga nagpalit na ng university president. Pero sana uh, may school is hoping, may former college school is hoping na sana ma-visualize na yon para hindi na rin mahirapan both ang mga instructor at ang mga students. So, lesson learned from failures. We should analyze failed e-governance projects that it can provide critical insights into pitfalls to avoid, such as insufficient stakeholder engagement and lack of user-friendly interfaces. So we have some to ensure to ensure the expanding digital services here in the Philippines. We have 3 Republic Acts na tutulong para maunawaan natin at para maisagawa natin ng ayos ang ating digital services, digitalization era. So number 1 is the Republic Act 8792, or also known as E-Commerce Act of 2000. So the E-Commerce Act of 2000, I'm sorry, napakaliit pala talaga sa screen. So, i-review nyo na lang mamaya doon sa Google Drive pag i-upload na. E-Commerce Act of 2000 establishes the legal frameworks for electronic transactions in the Philippines. It covers digital signatures, electronic contracts, liability of service providers, and consumer rights, promoting a safe and secure business environment. What is the objectives? The main objectives of the E-Commerce Act are to facilitate the growth of electronic commerce, ensure legal recognition of electronic transactions, enhance consumer protection, and create a favorable environment for businesses to thrive in the digital marketplace. So the impact of which on business practices is this act has transformed traditional business practices by legitimizing online transactions, fostering trust, and encouraging businesses to adopt digital technologies, enhancing efficiency and reach to customers. So, what is the definition and importance? E-governance refers to the use of digital tools and systems to deliver government services and engage with citizens. It is crucial for improving transparency, efficiency, and responsiveness in government operations. So in the Philippines, e-governance initiatives have been implemented to streamline processes, promote transparency, and enhance public service delivery. The government aims to leverage technology to improve citizen engagement and access to services. So we have the integration with e-commerce. E-governance and e-commerce are interlinked as they both rely on technology to improve service delivery. The integration enhances accountability and facilitates business transactions with government agencies, simplifying compliance and fostering economic growth. So what is the role in our economic development? Administration plays a pivotal role in fostering economic growth by creating and enabling environment for e-commerce. This includes supporting infrastructure development, regulatory frameworks, and initiatives that encourage investment and innovation in the digital economy. Public sector reforms are essentials in modernizing government functions and improving service delivery. This involves adopting e-governance practices that streamline processes, reduce bureaucracy, and increase accountability, ultimately making government services more accessible to the public. So promoting digital literacy is critical for ensuring that citizens can engage effectively with e-commerce platforms. Initiatives aimed at enhancing digital skills among the population will empower individuals and businesses to leverage technology for increased productivity and participation in the digital economy. So we have the challenges and opportunity. Number one, cybersecurity issues. As e-commerce grows, so do concerns regarding cybersecurity. Protecting sensitive data and building secure online environments are essential for maintaining consumer trust and confidence in digital transactions. Compliance with regulations is vital for businesses operating in the e-commerce landscape. Companies must navigate a complex web of laws and standards that govern online transactions, data protection, and consumer rights to avoid legal issues and foster trust. So, dito pumapasok yung example natin na yung I know familiar kayo doon sa GCash. Marami ngayong hindi na nawawala na sila ng tiwala sa GCash na lalo't bakit nakukuhaan sila ng pera. Bakit nawawalan pa sila ng pera? May mga third party ba na gumagalaw o may yung tinatawag nila masyado naman sigurong itong term ko na inside job, yung sinasabi ng iba, yung mga OA. Hindi ko lang sinabing OA, sorry for the term. So, yun, sinasabi nila baka inside job daw, yung mismong taga GCash ang gumagawa ng magaganong kalokohan na nangunguha daw sila ng pera nang hindi naman nila pinaghirapan. So ngayon yung katrabaho ko, ang ginagawa niya minsan, pag may laman yung GCash niya, pag may nagpasa sa kanya sa GCash, ang ginagawa niya minsan ay either ika-cash out niya agad or ililipat niya doon sa kanyang ATM na mas secured. So, hindi na sila ganun katiwala. Although gumagamit pa rin sila ng GCash, pero hindi na ganun sila fully trusted sa platform, sa app. So, the future of e-commerce is likely to be shaped by emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, and the Internet of Things. These innovations will enhance customer experiences, streamline supply chains, and provide new opportunities for market expansion. So I also have here the recommendations based on the references I've read a few days earlier. So we should enhance policy framework to maximize the benefits of e-commerce within development administration. It is recommended to enhance policy frameworks that promote innovation, protect consumers, and address emerging technological challenges. So we have to also foster public-private partnership, just like what Sir Dante have told us earlier. We should encourage collaboration between government and private sector stakeholders that can drive advancements in e-governance and e-commerce, fostering innovation and improving public service delivery. So just like earlier, we have to invest in infrastructure. So moving on is the Republic Act 10173, or also known as Data Privacy Act of 2012. The Data Privacy Act of 2012 is a comprehensive legal framework designed to protect the personal information of individuals. It establishes guidelines for the collection, processing, and the storage of personal data by various entities. Objective of which is to protect individual privacy rights, ensure the responsible use of personal data, and establish mechanisms for accountability among organizations handling personal information. So this act applies to all individuals and entities that process personal data, whether in the public or private sector. It encompasses both local and foreign entities that collect data from residents of the Philippines. So, alam nyo naman siguro yung Pogo. So, kahit foreign yung nagpapagalaw doon, as long as kumukuha siya ng data dito sa Pilipinas, sakop siya at applicable sa kanya ang Republic Act na ito. So, we have the key provisions. Number 1 is the consent requirement. The Act mandates that the processing of personal data must be based on the consent of the data subjects. Consent must be freely given, specific, informed, and unambiguous. So, di ba pag pumapasok kayo sa isang site or sa isang link, meron doon tayong chine-checkan na I accept the terms and conditions, na yung iba nag-share pa ng data sa third party, mga ganon-ganon. So, alam nyo na rin naman yun kasi I know nakakadaan din kayo ng mga ganon, yung humihingi sila ng consent na i-share sa isang third party yung inyong mga information. So, this should be freely given. Next is rights of data subjects. Data subjects have specific rights under the Act, including the right to access their personal data, the right to rectify inaccuracies, and the right to object to processing. So we have the data protection principles. This Act establishes key principles for data protection, including transparency, legitimate purpose, and proportionality. Data collected must be relevant and limited to what is necessary for achieving its intended purpose. We have the compliance framework, accountability of personal information controllers. Personal information controllers are responsible for ensuring compliance with the Data Privacy Act. They must implement policies and practices that protect personal data and uphold the rights of data subjects. Data protection officers. Organizations are required to appoint a data protection officer to oversee data privacy compliance. His or her responsibilities include monitoring data processing activities and ensuring adherence to data protection regulations. Also, conducting privacy impact assessments is essential for identifying and mitigating privacy risks related to data processing. Organizations must evaluate how personal data is collected, stored, and utilized. enforcement, and penalties. So the National Privacy Commission has the authority to investigate complaints and incidents of data breaches. They ensure that organizations adhere to data privacy standards and have appropriate responses for violations. Non-compliance with the Data Privacy Act can result in significant penalties, including fines and imprisonment. The severity of penalties depends on the nature and extent of the violation. So, hindi ko na po iisa-isahin yung mga penalties and yung fines. So, role of the National Privacy Commission. It acts as the regulatory body responsible for enforcing the Data Privacy Act. It oversees compliance, handles complaints, and promotes awareness of data protection rights among individuals. So, the Data Privacy Act of 2012 serves as a crucial framework for protecting personal data in the Philippines. Understanding its provisions and compliance requirements is essential for organizations to safeguard individual privacy rights and avoid penalties. So, the last Republic Act 10175, or also known as Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. So, the purpose of Cybercrime Prevention Act was enacted to address the growing threats posed by cybercrime in the Philippines. It aims to criminalize acts such as illegal access to information systems, data interference, and content-related offenses. By establishing a legal framework, it seeks to enhance the country's ability to combat cybercrime and protect the integrity of computer systems and data. This act outlines essential definitions pertinent to its enforcement, including terms like cybercrime, computer system, and data. Understanding these concepts is fundamental for the application of the law, particularly in distinguishing between offenses and determining their legal ramifications. Scope of application of this act applies to all persons, including private individuals and public officials within the Philippines. So, unlike doon kanina sa e-commerce, as a Data Privacy Act, I'm sorry, saklaw niya is hanggang kahit foreign individuals na gumagamit ng info ng mga Philippine citizens o ng mga Pilipino, ito ay sumasakop sa private individuals and public officials within the Philippines. It covers crimes committed using computer systems, whether for personal purposes or as part of organized criminal activities, thereby ensuring comprehensive jurisdiction over cyber offenses. So, as you can notice kanina, ang Data Privacy Act of 2012 and ang Republic Act niya is number 10173. So, ito namang Cybercrime Act is 10175. So, they are interconnected somehow. Offenses in cybersex and prostitution. The act criminalizes cybersex and related activities, targeting those who engage in or facilitate digital sexual exploitation. This includes various forms of online prostitution, ensuring that participants in such activities can be prosecuted under the law. Identity theft and data-related crimes is addressed specifically in this act, making it illegal to obtain or use someone else's personal information without consent. It also encompasses other data-related crimes, such as data interference and misuse, designed to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of individuals' personal data. So the act This act prohibits unauthorized access to computer systems and data, which includes bypassing security protocols or hacking, which is napakatalamak ngayon yung hacking, hindi lang lalo sa mga banking services, online banking services, into information systems. This provision aims to safeguard private information and corporate data from breaches and malicious attacks. Penalties, imprisonment, and fines. So just like in Data Privacy Act, hindi ko na po isa-isahin yung mga fines niya. The Cybercrime Prevention Act stipulates severe penalties for various offenses. Imprisonment terms can range from 6 months to a maximum of 12 years, depending on the gravity of the crime. Fines are also imposed, potentially amounting to several 100,000 pesos. This dual approach aims to deter individuals from engaging in cybercrimes. Pero kahit may mga ganito kalaking parusa, hindi pa rin talaga napipigilan yung mga magaling magtago ng kanilang bakas sa paggawa ng masama. Kahit hindi sila personal na gumagawa, basta marunong sila sa mga, yun ang disadvantage din ng pagkakaroon ng digitalization or advanced technology. Habang tumatalino ang tao, nagkakaroon din sila ng talino para gumawa ng masama. So another one is increased penalties for repeat offenders. The act enforces harsher penalties for individuals convicted of multiple offenses. Repeat offenders may face longer prison sentences and higher fines, emphasizing the seriousness of repeated violations. This provision aims to discourage habitual criminal behavior in the cyber realm. Civil liability. In addition to criminal penalties, the law provides for civil liability, where offenders may be required to compensate victims for damages caused by their cybercriminal actions. This includes restitution for financial losses and other damages incurred due to identity theft, hacking, or other cyber-related crimes. Enforcement. This is the role of the Department of Justice. I summarized only. It plays a pivotal role in enforcing the Cybercrime Act. They are responsible for legal proceedings against offenders and coordinating with other agencies to strengthen cybercrime enforcement. The DOJ also provides guidelines for prosecution to ensure consistency in the application of the law. Cybercrime Investigating and Coordinating Center. The CICC is designed as the primary agency for overseeing the enforcement of the Cybercrime Act. It conducts investigations, provides technical assistance to law enforcement agencies, and leads initiatives to combat cybercrime. Collaboration within government entities and the private sector is vital for effective cybercrime prevention. International cooperation on cybercrime. Recognizing that cybercrime is a global issue. Siyempre, hindi lang ito sa Pilipinas. Matagal na itong magsimula sa ibang bansa bago pa natin maranasan. This act promotes international cooperation among law enforcement agencies. This includes sharing information and best practices with foreign counterparts participating in international treaties and coordinating investigations that span multiple jurisdictions to effectively tackle transnational cybercrime. So the impact in businesses. It has significant implications for businesses operating in the digital landscape. Companies are now required to enhance their cybersecurity measures and establish protocols to prevent cybercrimes. Non-compliance can lead to severe penalties and reputational damage, making it essential for businesses to take proactive measures. So we have to protect our individual rights, our own rights. By the help of this act, mayroon na tayong sorry, meron na tayong kasangga at hindi na tayo basta-basta matatakot na malinlang o maloko pa. So, protecting individual rights, the act seeks to balance the need for cybersecurity with the protection of individual rights. It includes provisions to safeguard personal data and ensure due process in the prosecution of cybercrimes. This approach aims to maintain public trust while effectively combating cyber threats. So next is public awareness and education. Raising public awareness about cyber threats is critical for the effectiveness of the Cybercrime Act. Educational initiatives targeting individuals, businesses, and institutions can empower stakeholders to recognize and report cybercrime. Increased awareness contributes to a collective effort in fostering a safer digital environment. So, in this act, the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012 provides a comprehensive framework for addressing cybercrime in the Philippines by establishing clear penalties, delineating responsibilities for enforcement, and promoting public awareness. The act aims to enhance cybersecurity and protect individuals and businesses from the escalating threats posed by cyber criminals. So although this Cybercrime Act ay mostly Filipino lang ang sakop niya, pero dahil sa act na ito, gumawa sila ng paraan para makipag-collaborate, kapit kamay sa international agencies para masugpo talaga nila yung lahat ng gumagawa nito. Nagkapit-bisig sila sa ibang bansa. So kahit pa sabihin na Pilipino lang ang target nito, pag once na naipatupad ang batas, pag once na pinagalaw nila ang batas na to, kayang-kaya nilang makipagtulungan sa ibang bansa. So conclusion, these legislative measures, wait lang. These legislative measures not only protect consumers, but also encourage foreign investment and innovation within the Philippine digital landscape. By creating a secure and well-regulated environment, the government signals its commitment to a thriving digital ecosystem, attracting businesses that recognize the importance of operating in a market that prioritizes safety and trust. This ultimately contributes to economic growth and positions the Philippines as a competitive player in the global digital arena. So, sabi nga din nila, narinig ko natin sa isa kong professor, habang tumatagal daw, dumarating ang mga panahon, umuunlad tayo, tumatalino daw ang mga tao. Hindi ko naman sinabing talagang bobo yung dati ha. At least nagkakaroon sila ng mga ideya how to improve this kind of appliances, nagde-develop, nagiging high-tech, nagkakaroon din yun ng disadvantage. So, at least nagkaroon tayo ng mga ganitong Republic Acts na tutulong sa atin para at least ma-counterpart natin o malabanan natin yung kung ano man ang mga na-encounter natin sa patungkol sa ganitong digitalization at modernization. So that concludes my report. So once again, good evening everyone.
Okay, thank you so much. No, again, the National Broadband Plan, or the NBP, launched by the ICT, as our presenter mentioned, addresses one critical gap, no, connectivity. And many rural barangays still suffer from poor or no internet access, as our presenter also justified. No? Through the NBP, no, the government targets to expand affordable internet infrastructure nationwide. Let's say, for example, no, in areas like Lanao del Sur or Sulu, expanded fiber optic backbones and satellite broadband make it easier for students to join online classes and for farmers to access market prices and agricultural advice. A key component of digital governance is develop of government web portals, platforms like www.gov.ph and PhilJeps, provide a centralized access to information, service, and procurement opportunities. Instead of physically visiting city halls or calling hotlines, people can renew licenses, download forms, and lodge complaints online. And this portal save time and can reduce corruptions and increase transparency in public service delivery. As technology evolves, expanding digital services become a priority. From telemedicine in remote barangays to e-payment option for public transportation, these services reduce human error, lower operating costs, and provide convenience to the public. LGUs nga po katulad ng Valenzuela, sabi ko kanina, na offering fully online business permit system that has been praised nationally. So legal frameworks plays a major role in protecting and enabling digital services. I believe that you are all familiar with E-Commerce Act of 2000, set the stage of electronic transaction in the Philippines. And this law recognized the legal validity of electronic documents and digital signatures, which is vital for things, like online contracts or applications. As we move more services online, sabi nga kanina ni Madam, data privacy becomes a central concern because the Data Privacy Act of 2012 mandates both public and private institutions to safeguard personal data. So if an LGU rolls out an online health tracking system, it must ensure that users' information, such as medical records or vaccination history, is protected. Otherwise, it risks not only legal consequences but also the loss of public trust. Closely related is the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012, which protects citizens and government institutions from online threats such as hacking, identity theft, and cyberbullying. When a city government implements an online grievance system or public feedback form, they must ensure it's not abused or attacked by malicious users. So, therefore, training IT personnel and investing in cybersecurity is part of the government responsibility under this act. All these components, laws, infrastructure, systems, are not meant to overwhelm or complicate governance. Instead, the e-governance master plan, as what our presenter earlier mentioned, is about building an ecosystem where technology becomes a tool for empowerment. So it ensures that every Filipino, regardless of their region or status, can access public services with its safety and dignity. So at its core, e-governance is about people, not just programs or policies. It's about a senior citizen in Mindoro being able to apply for pension online without traveling miles. It's about a young entrepreneur in Zamboanga being able to register a business in a day. It's about bridging gaps and creating connection in a country all over 7,000 plus islands. Okay? So thank you, presenters.